Yep, I'm actually doing this. Hey, welcome to Make Thrift Buy, the show where you send in suggestions of clothes that you've seen on the internet, and then I try my best to recreate them. So a lot of you have sent me messages in the past few weeks asking me to recreate the virgin killing sweater. Apparently this sweater recently blew up on Twitter in Japan, and later it was also picked up by Western major media outlets in their monthly Isn't Japan So Crazy stories. Although I'm pretty sure it's actually manufactured and sold in a Chinese store called 73. It's also apparently received the name Virgin Killer from a Japanese person on Twitter because it's so erotic that it kills virgins. Look, everything about this is a little bit iffy. I'm just here to sew. Oh yeah, important thing to note about this sweater. It's supposed to be so low cut at the back that it shows off butt cleavage. Now, I didn't know that butt cleavage was a thing until today. And in attempting to keep this video PG, I'm not going to show you the photos of people wearing it where you can see their butt cleavage, nor will I be showing my own butt cleavage if I do make it successfully. But if you want to see this worn on actual human beings or a bunch of anime girls or My Little Pony characters, which I pre-warn you, you will not be able to unsee, there's a not safe for work page on knowyourmeme.com all about this sweater with about 300 pictures. Anyway, let's try and recreate this. Well, I started out by finding a suitable sweater at the thrift store. This one was $15 and it's a men's size large. Most importantly, it has a turtleneck and it's also quite long on me. It ends about where my shorts end, so it's the perfect length for this DIY. Anyway, off with the arms. We sure won't be needing those. Oh yeah, guys, I should just stop here. I've created such a sexy look already. Anyway, next I wanted to make it fit more snugly, so it's time to take in the sides. I pinched the material at the sides until it was more snug on my body, estimating how much I'd need to take it in by. Then I turned the sweater inside out and I laid it out flat, and I drew straight lines down both sides using some chalk. And I also stuck some pins through both layers of fabric to help keep them together through the next step, because knitted fabric stretches like nothing else. In the next step, I'm going to be using my overlocker to serge down these two lines. So here is some actually useful tips about sewing with knitted fabrics. So this is an overlocker, also known as a serger. Stickers available from dftba.com. And before serging any kind of fabric, especially bulky knitted fabric like I'm using here, you should adjust the settings on your serger. So I am setting my differential feed to 2, which will give me hopefully flat seams. If you set it to this, we're gonna get real wavy seams. So it needs to be set to 2. I'm also setting my stitch length. Yes, this is length. I'm also setting my stitch length to the longest length possible. And finally, I am using nylon threads because they are stretchier. I worked out all of these adjustments by reading the manual for my machine. Your machine will probably be a bit different, so a good idea is to read the manual. But the most important one is this one here, the differential feed. And I practiced on the fabric that I cut off from the arms until I got a nice flat seam. See, this was one of my first attempts. That is what I did not want. So after doing all that, I put the sweater into the serger and I serged down those lines I drew earlier. And guys, I actually managed to sew a pretty flat seam on my sweater there. It was still the tiniest bit ruffled, but hey, it's pretty good because sewing together 2 layers of chunky knit is really difficult, so I'm pretty proud of myself. Okay, so then I decided to do the rest of the measuring by putting my sweater on this dress form because I was sick of how itchy and hot the sweater was making me. So the next thing I did was to essentially trace those cutouts directly onto the sweater using some chalk. Obviously, using a dress form also makes this process somewhat easier than trying to trace it out while wearing it on myself. So once I had drawn on those cutouts, I cut them out using some fabric scissors. I cut about 1 inch outside the chalk lines to give myself some hemming allowance. And when that was done, it looked like this. And it's looking quite similar to the original at this point, if I do say so myself. The next step was to hem all the raw edges to give them a neat finish, which I did by first going all the way around the raw edges with my overlocker and then folding the hem up inside the garment about 1/2 inch and using a stretch stitch to go over the top and using a walking foot attachment as well. These two techniques stop the hem from ruffling on the knitted fabric. So this is what it looked like when I was done, and I realized at this point that I had been a bit too enthusiastic with those side cutouts. See, now on this mannequin, it looks like there'd just be a tasteful amount of side boob, right? But unfortunately, this dress form is not exactly the same size as me. So when I actually tried this on, how to say this delicately, my boobs spilled out the sides. This is why I probably should have tried it on before cutting it out. Welp, too late now. It's time to try and salvage this project, which I did by grabbing the one sleeve that I hadn't already butchered by practicing on it before with my serger, and I cut this sleeve in half. Then I placed it underneath the side cutouts like this to give a little bit more coverage at the front. I pinned it on, repeating this for the other side, and then I sewed these extra pieces on like this, again using a stretch stitch. Next, the fabric also went a little bit more floopy than I expected after making the cutouts, and it also gaped a bit at the sides. So to fix this, I turned the garment inside out, laid it flat like this, and essentially I made this part tighter by sewing a line like this through both layers of fabric. The very last step was adding a tie at the back. I'm not sure why this tie exists on the original. I think that it's probably just purely decorative. In any case, it's definitely not going to be functional on my backless sweater. So first, I estimated how long each tie would be by pretending that my measuring tape was the tie and getting the approximate length from this. I cut out 2 pieces of cotton fabric in a matching color, each of them measuring 33 by 2.5 inches. And I folded both in half lengthways, sewed down this edge, turned them inside out using a bodkin, ironed them flat, and then sewed them down the middle like this. Finally, I attached them together in one long strap, and then I hand sewed it onto the back of the sweater just underneath the turtleneck. And I tied it into a pretty bow. And with that, I was done. So, oh man, I still can't believe I've made this item of clothing. How did I go? I want to take this off now. But first, some shots. This is what it looks like from the front. I'm gonna put pants on to show you the back. So we've got the turtleneck at the front, we've got ample side boob, we have a V cut out at the butt waistline here for a lot of butt cleavage. Oh look, got some more side boob there, I got the tie that doesn't function. Yeah, so this is 100% wool, so, and it's summer where I live right now. I do not feel sexy at all. Baby, I'm so itchy. Here's a hot tip for those of you planning on recreating this. Not that I particularly recommend doing so. Use a sweater that's not 100% wool, like maybe more polyester. I couldn't figure out what the original was made of, but I'm betting it isn't 100% pure wool. Turns out that's not very comfortable to wear. And yep, so I'm feeling really uncomfortable and awkward right now, so end card. Okay, so I made it. At the very least, even if you don't plan on making one of these for yourself, and more power to you if you do, I think you should be able to wear whatever you want. It just doesn't suit me. I hope you learned some tricks and tips on serging knitted fabrics. Make sure you check out my merchandise store over at dftba.com for some wonderful sewing stickers and an awesome Make Thrift Buy poster to help support my channel and more quality videos like this one. That's all for now. I'll see you all in my next video. Bye! Thank you to all of my supporters on Patreon for making these videos possible. To become my Patreon supporter, go to patreon.com/AnnikaVictoria.